Hey guys. Tonight, we don't begin with heroes or hymns. We begin with footprints that crack the earth, with names so old they burned the tongue. This isn't a tale of dragons or princes. It's the story of things too large to kneel. The ones whispered about in half-sleep, drawn in the margins, buried beneath floodwater and shame. You've heard of giants, but no one told you they wept. No one told you the stars moved when they slept. No one told you what they left behind when the sky slammed shut. What drowned wasn't just a people. It was a memory the world was too afraid to keep. Tonight, we open that door. Just a crack. Just enough to let something ancient breathe and remember its name. So, before you get too cozy, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this strange little corner of quiet storytelling. And drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you. It's strangely comforting to know who else is drifting off with us around the world. Now get comfortable, let the day melt away, and we'll drift back together into the quiet corners of the past. Congratulations. You've just woken up taller than everyone else, and not in a flattering way, not in the heroic silhouette atop the hill way, more in the every doorway now threatens your eyebrows kind of way. You're a walking accident waiting to happen. The clay walls of your house creak like nervous relatives every time you shift in your sleep. You haven't even sat up yet, and the wooden beam overhead is already contemplating retirement. You blink, and the ceiling is much closer than it was yesterday. Or maybe the ceiling hasn't moved at all. Maybe it's you. Again. You sit up, slowly, knees cracking like dry branches. Your straw mat tries to cling to you like it knows you're outgrowing the furniture. The blanket, a once generous square of wool, now rides above your elbows like a child's costume. Your toes dangle off the end of the bed. They look like they belong to someone else. Someone mythological. Someone problematic. Your mother doesn't say anything when she sees you. She just pauses at the door, her hands gripping the wooden frame like it might sprint off if she doesn't hold it steady. Her eyes flicker up your torso, across your broad shoulders, over the hunched slope of your neck that doesn't quite know where to stop. She doesn't smile. You used to fit under her chin. Now she looks like she's praying with her eyes open. Outside, the sky is still the soft blue of before sunrise, when the birds haven't decided whether to sing or scream. You duck out the door, bending at 3 separate points to avoid destroying the lintel. The wind sighs across the plains. It brings with it the smell of wet earth, dew, and something faintly metallic, like blood diluted in rainwater. You ignore it. You've been smelling odd things since your last growth spurt. You try to walk without stomping. It's hard. Every step feels like a minor earthquake. Your footprints collect water now. Insects drown in them. Children trip. You tried walking on your toes for a while, but your toes are the size of a normal man's shin, and the effect was less graceful giant and more confused crane having a breakdown. Your tunic no longer qualifies as clothing. It's more of a suggestion of modesty, barely covering what it needs to, stretched so tight across your chest that the seams are threatening mutiny. You tore 3 this week. Your mother patched 2. The 3rd you buried out of shame. At the well, the villagers stare. Not openly, not exactly. Just that kind of glance people throw over their shoulder, like they're checking the weather, but the weather is wearing human skin and standing very still. You offer a nod. The nod is not returned. Even the goats edge away, like they suspect you might eat them whole. You did once. It was an accident. Sort of. Children whisper behind baskets. One throws a pebble. It hits your leg and makes a sound like fruit hitting a wall. He laughs until his mother hisses and drags him behind her. The pebble remains lodged in your calf like an afterthought. You don't bother removing it. There's no point. It's not the first. It won't be the last. When you kneel to drink, the well tilts a little. No one mentions it. By midday, you've grown again. You know because the leather strap around your wrist has snapped. Again. You tie it back with a reed and pretend it's intentional. The sky seems lower somehow, like it's thinking about pushing back. The birds have moved farther away. Your mother says nothing during dinner. She ladles your portion into a bowl the size of a washing tub. You eat without tasting. It takes 3 loaves of bread, 6 boiled roots, and what used to be a small deer to make you feel almost full. She doesn't ask if you want more. She just watches. You think she's trying to remember when your eyes stopped matching hers. That night, the stars feel too close. You hear them crackle behind the clouds like embers in water. Something enormous is watching you. Not a person, not a god. Something in between. Like a memory the sky is trying not to have. You curl up on your mat. It curls back, barely. In the dark, you finally whisper it. The question, what am I? The wind doesn't answer, but the floor groans. The walls flinch. And your mother's breath, steady and silent, doesn't sound like sleep. Your father isn't from around here. Not in the he's from the next village over way. Not in the he talks funny and won't eat the stew way. No, your father descends. That's the word they use, like a sickness, like a punishment, like smoke that forgets it used to be fire. You were 5 when you first saw him do it. One moment the sky was just sky, then it cracked. Not like thunder, like bone. A white seam tore through the clouds, and something stepped through it wearing the shape of a man who had never touched dirt. He glowed. Not like sunlight or firelight. Like a lie, told very well. Your mother dropped the clay bowl in her hands, didn't speak, didn't run, just stared like she was bracing for something to pass through her. You didn't know then what shame looked like, but you recognized fear. It was the same shape as your mother's spine. He didn't walk, he didn't run, he simply arrived, and the ground didn't argue. He stood there, barefoot on dry earth, and the dust didn't cling to him. That's the part you remember most, the way the world refused to touch him. Even the wind bent around him like it knew better. His eyes weren't eyes. They were directionless fire, not bright, just impossible. When he spoke, it was in thunder that had forgotten how to echo. He called you by a name you didn't know was yours, a name that scratched something old and unfinished inside your rib cage. It made your blood itch. You didn't like it, but you smiled anyway, because children are good at mimicking pride. He crouched, not low enough, and placed a hand on your head. It burned, but not in a way you could describe without starting to cry. So you didn't, because he didn't look like someone who liked crying. You're special, he said, voice like the inside of a storm. You believed him. Why wouldn't you? Everyone else looked at you like a mistake, but he looked at you like you were a weapon he had forged on purpose. That kind of gaze is addicting, especially when you're 5, especially when you've never really belonged to the room you were born in. He left before the sun finished rising, just blinked out, a puff of air, a gust that smelled like wet metal and burnt wood. You asked your mother where he went. She said, back. Back to what? You didn't ask. She wasn't really answering you anymore. That night you dreamt of ladders made of bone, of voices that didn't need mouths, of eyes in the sky, of your blood lighting up like oil. The next time he came, you were 7 and could lift a goat with one hand. He did not smile. He never did. Smiles are for mortals, for people who might bleed. Your father did not seem capable of either. This time, he brought others. They looked like him, but worse. Like mirrors that had been dropped and reassembled wrong. They smelled like frost and vinegar. One of them tried to speak to your mother. She went deaf in one ear for 3 days. They circled you, whispered things, not in words, in knowing. And each time they whispered, you grew taller. Your bones lengthened like ropes. Your skin stretched like parchment over firewood. You tasted blood, but none of it was yours. Your mother begged them to stop. She didn't beg often, but when she did, she used both hands and her whole spine. They ignored her. They weren't talking to her anymore. Not really. Before they left, your father pressed a finger to your forehead. Your skull buzzed. You fell asleep for 3 days and woke up with a scar shaped like a language no one can read. You asked your mother what he was. She said, "Not ours." After that, you stopped asking. The village began leaving food outside your door, not as gifts, as bribes, as warnings. "Here," they seemed to say, "eat this. Stay asleep. Please don't wake up angry." You never saw your father eat. You're not even sure he had a mouth. But every time he came back, he brought more silence, more wind, more reasons to pretend everything was fine. You are 9 the last time he visits. He crouches lower this time. He looks older, but not in a way that makes sense. Like time had tried to age him and failed politely. He doesn't say you're special anymore. Just nods. Then leaves. You never see him again. Not with your eyes. But the sky doesn't stop watching. You eat everything that isn't nailed down. And if it is, you might still try. It starts slowly, like all disasters do. At first, it's just seconds, then thirds, then scraping the bottom of the pot with a fingernail thick enough to carve wood. By the time you're 12, breakfast is no longer a meal. It's a ritualized raid. Your mother doesn't cook in batches anymore. She cooks in cauldrons. Today it's figs, 23 of them. You count, out of shame, not satisfaction. They vanish so fast you don't taste them. Then a sheep, not in one sitting, you promise, but close. Too close. You tore off the leg while it was still warm and muttering. You said sorry. It didn't help. You try bark once. It splinters in your teeth, tastes like dust and disappointment, but it slows you down for 5 seconds, so you keep chewing. You try bees next, thinking maybe the sting will distract you. It doesn't. Their buzzing just reminds you of your own skull, humming like a hornet nest at night. You break your 4th clay bowl this week. Not out of anger, just grip. You try to be gentle, but your hands are hands the size of an ox's heart, and the bowl was made for someone with normal hungers. Your mother sweeps up the pieces without looking at you. She doesn't say it's fine. It isn't. You eat her silence too. The table creaks when you sit. So now you don't. You hover in corners, squat in the doorway, lean against support beams that visibly consider giving up. No one sits next to you anymore. Not because there isn't space, because there's too much. A ring of absence forms around you wherever you go, like you're on fire and no one has the water to help. The neighbors stop inviting you to feast days. At first they claimed there wasn't enough room. Then they stopped pretending. You arrive anyway, once, just to prove you can be polite. You leave with a handful of fruit and 3 terrified chickens, none of which made it home. You're not a guest anymore. You're a weather event. You learn to fish, but you don't use a line. You just stand in the stream until something swims too close, then crush it with one palm and bite it raw. You tell yourself it's practical. You tell yourself it's survival. You do not tell anyone about the eel that whispered your name before it died. One day you steal an entire wheel of bread from the merchant cart. Not because you're starving. You just forgot to ask. You toss him a pebble as payment. It cracks his front tooth. He bleeds. You apologize. You apologize again. You run. The hunger doesn't care. You try fasting once. Just once. Maybe if you stop feeding it, it will shrink. Instead, you dream of wolves with your face. They chew through your ribs, gnaw on your shadow, and leave your name behind in bite marks. You wake up biting the corner of your own bedpost. You eat a necklace once, by accident. You were kissing the girl who made it. She screamed. You said it tasted like salt and copper and regret. She ran. You never see her again. By 14, you eat 2 loaves before dawn. By 15, you carry a satchel of dried meat on your hip like a sacred text. By 16, you stop waiting for permission. You take what you need, and what you need is everything. Your teeth hurt, not from chewing, from growing. Your molars keep changing shape, like they're not sure what species you are anymore. Your gums split in your sleep. You bleed and swallow and barely notice. You hear rumors that you were cursed, that you're a punishment, that your mother was tricked by something too beautiful to be trusted. You laugh with your mouth full. They're not wrong. You try to pray once, for restraint, for stillness, for an end to the hunger. Your words feel like insects crawling off your tongue. You throw up under a tree, and the roots shrivel. You stop praying. Now when you walk, animals scatter. Not because you hunt them, because they sense a void shaped like a man, and hunger shaped like a god. You eat. You eat. You keep eating. But you are never full. Not really. Not where it counts. The sky is getting nervous. It doesn't say so, of course. It just starts acting weird. Birds stop flying like birds. They flit sideways, stall midair, drop feathers in spirals like they forgot how gravity works. The crows, normally loud, rude, and charmingly awful, go quiet when you walk under their tree. They watch you with both eyes, one for each regret. You don't look back. The stars blink wrong now, not twinkling, twitching, like eyes, like something behind them is trying to push through. You used to trace constellations with your finger before bed, pretending you were a scholar, or a god, or someone who could read the sky like a map. Now the constellations move when you're not looking. You swear that one wasn't there yesterday. The little hook-shaped one? It pulses now, like a wound. At night the wind talks more. Not words, not really. But it doesn't sound like leaves anymore. It sounds like breath. Like something exhaling over your shoulder, just behind you, every time you stop walking. You don't stop walking as much these days. Your shadow doesn't obey anymore. You notice it first by accident. Sun behind you, shadow stretching long across the clay wall. Except it bends the wrong way. Around corners. Against slopes. Like it's listening for something you can't hear. You kick at it. It holds. You try again. This time it moves a half second too slow. Then catches up. Then stands still. You do not tell anyone about this. The elders say the weather is acting strange, but they say it with that brittle edge that means they're not just talking about clouds. Storms come from nowhere now. Wind tears through the valley at midnight, uproots tents, lifts goats, spits sand into soup pots. You sleep through most of them. That's the part that scares them most. Your ears have started ringing. Only at night. Only when the moon's full. Only when you think about your father. You haven't seen him since the last time he arrived, glowing and left smelling like regret. But something of him lingers. A shimmer in the corner of your eye. A flash across water. The back of someone else's voice inside your own. Once, while pulling up reeds, you touch the mud and feel it pull back. Not physically, just attention, just awareness. Like something beneath the muck is now cataloging your fingerprints. You let go and rinse your hands until they sting. The next day the water tastes like metal. Everyone notices. No one says your name. Even the sheep have changed. They glance over their shoulders before they bleat now. They sleep standing up. You dream of them in circles, their eyes all focused on something behind you. You wake up facing the wall. The stars, when they blink, are starting to hum. Not a sound, a sensation. In your molars, in your ribs, in the back of your knees. You hum back once, just to see. Something in the east hums louder. You pretend it's coincidence. At night you dig. You tell yourself it's for fun, for practice, for storage. But you don't know what you're digging for. You dig until your hands blister. Then you dig until they stop blistering. The pit gets deeper. Still, it isn't enough. Something watches you from inside it. The village boys don't call you names anymore. That stopped last year when one of them whispered the word curse a little too loudly, and you turned to look at him and he tripped over nothing and broke his ankle in 3 places. You never touched him. Everyone knows that. Everyone also knows not to stand too close when the wind picks up. You pass the well. The surface is still, but it reflects you wrong. Your shoulders look too wide, your eyes too long, your mouth open, even when it's not. You stop looking into the well. The sky, once so full of stories and shapes and comforts, is watching now. Not like a friend, not like a father, like something older than both, something that remembers your name, but not kindly. And lately, it's been whispering it back. You sleep facing the door now, because whatever's out there isn't out there anymore. You dream of Enoch, not because you want to, because he shows up anyway, like smoke, like memory, like a question you forgot how to answer. It starts slow, the way most holy things do. You're standing in a field, or a city, or nowhere at all. The sky above you is red and trembling, like it's holding back a scream. You turn to speak, but there's no one behind you. There never was. You're alone. Except you're not. You feel him before you see him. The air goes thin. The wind stops. Your ears pop like you've climbed a mountain made of judgment. Then he's there. He doesn't walk. Not really. He moves like a thought someone dared to say out loud. One moment he's a speck on the horizon. The next, he's 3 steps away, eyes full of tomorrow. He wears no crown, carries no staff, just silence and fire. Not around him, inside him, like someone lit a candle behind his bones. He doesn't blink. You notice this first, the kind of not blinking that feels like he's memorizing you, carving you into stone with his gaze alone. You want to look away. You don't. He opens his mouth, but the words don't come out as words. They arrive as knowledge, heavy, wet, like oil in your lungs. You drop to your knees. The ground underneath you is dry and cracked, then wet and pulsing, then ash. You can't tell if it's the same place or if the dream keeps shifting around you, like it doesn't want to be understood. Enoch says your name, the real one, the one you don't tell anyone because it feels too sharp in your mouth. It tastes like metal, like rain on iron, like your father's voice when he forgot how to love you. Then he says the names of your brothers, each one, in order, and the things they've done. You want to cover your ears, but your hands won't move. One drowned a whole flock for fun. Another carved runes into a hillside, using only his teeth. You're the quiet one, the careful one, the one who waits. He doesn't seem impressed. You try to speak, but your tongue is too big, or maybe the words are too small. They fall out of your mouth like pebbles, useless, dry things that bounce off his feet and vanish. The fire in his chest flickers. You think for a moment that he might leave. Then he steps closer. His skin is smooth like stone, or bone, or something older. His eyes don't shine. They absorb. They devour. And you feel every part of yourself shrink under that gaze, not in size. In significance, he lifts his hand, points to the sky. You look up, and there it is. Not a vision, a verdict. A wall of water, hung in place, not falling, just waiting. Waiting for the word, waiting for the signal, waiting for you. You try to scream, but your throat locks. You feel something cold drip down your chin. You taste dirt, real dirt, between your teeth, under your tongue. You wake up choking on soil. Your bed is gone, replaced by a shallow pit outside the village. Your fingers are caked in mud. Your knees are scraped. There are words carved into the ground in front of you. You don't remember writing them, but you know what they mean. He is watching. You don't know if it's Enoch, or the one who sent him, or the sky itself. But you know this. Something saw you sleep, and it did not smile. You stagger home before the sun rises. You say nothing. Your mother doesn't ask why your mouth is bleeding. That night, you sleep with your back to the wall and a stone in your hand. But it won't help, because when Enoch returns, he won't knock. He'll arrive, and you'll remember the sentence, the one you said in the dream, the one that wasn't in your voice. I am not ready. The other giants are getting meaner, not louder, meaner. Their laughter has a new edge now. Not joy, not even cruelty, just something sharp, like a blade being tested on bark. They used to wrestle for fun, knock trees over for sport, chase goats just to hear them scream. Now they tear the goats in half and forget to laugh. They don't want the meat. They just want to hear the bones snap. Your brother tore a camel in half yesterday. Not metaphorically. Not in battle. He just did it. One hand on each hump, pulled until something important gave out. Then he dropped the pieces in the dust, wiped his hands on his tunic, and called it a snack. You asked if he was hungry. He said no, then kicked over a well and walked away. That's how it is now. You used to sit together, all of you, around fires the size of merchant carts. You used to share stories about the angels, about your fathers, about the first time you realized the sky was afraid of you. Now you barely make eye contact. You avoid camp when you can. The fire's still there, but no one tends it. It just burns. They throw rocks at each other for conversation now. Not small ones, boulders. You've seen one of them break a tree by sneezing. Another cracked open a mountain slope just to see what it sounded like. They don't flinch when they get hurt. They grin, spit blood, and ask for more. You're starting to wonder if you're the only one still pretending to be human. You tried speaking to one of them yesterday. Arakiel's son, the one with shoulders like cliff faces and teeth like flint. You asked him if he remembered when you all used to build things, statues, temples, maps of the stars drawn in river mud. He said, "That was before we got bored." Then he pulled the leg off a lion and threw it at a passing trader's cart. He didn't check if anyone survived. Neither did you. You don't sleep near them anymore. You sleep under the hills, in a cave where the ceiling presses too low for comfort. But you prefer the ache. You prefer the solitude. At least the stone doesn't ask questions. They drink more now, not water, blood. They say it helps with the dreams. You ask what dreams. No one answers. One of them tried to describe it once. Something about a ladder made of faces, stretching up into fire, and a voice that kept repeating, "Return, return," like a mother who knows you won't. You asked what happened next. He crushed the rock he was sitting on and said, "Woke up hungry." You've started walking further from the group. At sunrise, at dusk, you stare at the mountains and wonder if they remember what came before all this, if their bones remember silence. You speak out loud sometimes, just to hear your voice not echo back in laughter or groaning or screams. You whisper things like, "Please, stop," and "I still remember the first tree I planted," and "If I break, will anyone notice?" The trees don't answer, but the wind seems to slow down when you speak. Your brother came to find you last night, the one with the camel hands. He crouched beside your fire, like he still knew how to be still. He didn't speak for a while, just watched the flames. Then he said, "I think the sky hates us." You didn't disagree. Then he said, "I hope it does. I want it to." Then he stood up, stepped into the dark, and ripped the moonlight off the stones as he walked away. You sit with that silence now. You cradle it like a wound. You remember when your hands built altars. Now they build nothing. You remember when your laughter meant something. Now it makes the sheep abort early. You remember when you called the others your brothers. Now you call them first. When something needs breaking, and you don't ask why anymore, because deep down, You already know. They're not just getting meaner, they're getting ready. You try to write your name. Not the nickname your mother still mutters when she thinks you're asleep. Not the word the villagers whisper when you walk past their doors and the children start to cry. The real one. The name your father gave you. The one that showed up once in a dream carved into a tree that hadn't grown yet. You find a slab of clay, still damp, still warm from the sun. You smooth it flat with your palm. The ground groans under your weight, but you ignore it. You press your fingertip into the surface and draw the first curve. It bleeds. Not ink, not paint. Blood. Yours maybe, or the clay's. You can't tell. The mark quivers like it's ashamed of itself, then seeps inward like it's trying to hide. You try again. A straight line this time. It pulses, then cracks. You hear something small whimper. It might be you. You press harder. The clay splits down the middle like you insulted its ancestors. A jagged vein of steam rises. You drop the slab. It hisses as it hits the ground, curls in on itself like something dying or being born. You stare at your fingertip. It's fine. No wound, no sign of blood, no reason for what just happened. You try dirt instead. Just plain dirt. You drag your finger through the dust, slow and careful, like you're calming a snake. The lines stay for a second, then curl into spirals, then into symbols, then into something else. A shape that shouldn't exist. A shape that watches. You wipe it away. Your heart beats funny after that, like it's skipping stairs, like it's not entirely convinced it belongs in your body anymore. You breathe deep. The air tastes like wet stone and old teeth. You stand. You walk. You find a reed basket, half full of river mud and thistle roots. Your mother keeps it near the fire pit. It always smells faintly of honey and something rotting. You hear it whisper your name. Not loudly, not even clearly, just enough to make your skin pull tight against your bones, like a song hummed by a throat that forgot how to sing. You lean in, slowly. The reeds rustle. Something shifts inside. You don't see anything, but the mud is moving, tiny circles, like it's breathing. You pretend it's the wind. You go outside. The sun is low and wide and watching. You find a stick. You drag it through the dust near the goat's pen. You try again, letter by letter. Your name, not the big one, just the small one. The one you whispered when you first saw fire. The stick snaps. The dust vanishes. Not like wind, like denial, like the earth itself has vetoed your attempt. You sit back. Something is pressing against your skull. Not pain, just pressure, like a thought trying to get out, like a word you're not supposed to say. You whisper your name aloud. The birds go silent. You try to laugh it off, but your throat doesn't cooperate. Your laugh comes out like a cough. Your cough comes out like a prayer. You don't know which gods are still listening. You go back inside. The reed basket is gone. You don't ask your mother where it went. You lie down. You stare at the ceiling. You blink too much. You try not to think about the way the letters moved, the way the clay bled, the way the dirt wrote something else. Your name isn't yours anymore. Maybe it never was. You fall asleep thinking about the sound your name made when it first broke. You dream of paper that breathes, of scrolls with veins, of a voice in the sky reading a list that ends with you. You wake up with your hand clenched. Inside your palm is a stone, smooth, warm, carved with 3 letters. None of them are yours. You build a city you can't fit in. It seemed like a good idea at the time. A solution, a gesture, a way to prove you were more than appetite and shadow. You wanted to build something that didn't scream when you touched it, something that stayed standing after you left. So you start with stone, big ones you drag from the mountain by hand while the villagers watch from a distance, mouths half open like maybe you'll drop one and finally end the suspense. You don't. You're careful. Too careful. You set the first stones like offerings. Slow. Reverent. Pretending you don't notice the wind hold its breath every time you shift your weight. Walls go up, then roofs, then roads wide enough for your stride. You lay them out like veins. You think maybe if you get the shape right, the city will beat, will breathe, will become something real. It doesn't. You finish the gates first. Massive slabs of carved basalt, taller than the tallest tree. You etch them with symbols you half remember from dreams. Circles, teeth, the outline of a hand with too many fingers. You think they mean welcome. The people think they mean warning. Still, they come. At first, just to watch, then to build, then to live. They move in like mice into a broken barn, quietly, nervously, in pairs. They don't talk much. When they do, it's never to you. But they sweep the floors, light the fires. Pretend not to flinch when you pass by. You build yourself a house near the center. It takes up a whole block. The doorframe scrapes the clouds. Inside, there's nothing but a cot, a fire pit, and a table too wide for company. You sit at it alone, knees to your chest, shoulders hunched. The roof groans like it's praying. You light a candle. It flickers like it doesn't believe in you. You visit the others sometimes, the people. You crouch in their marketplaces. You kneel beside their wells. You say hello, in the softest voice you can make. It still comes out wrong, like thunder trying to whisper. They smile too quickly, nod too often. Children disappear behind skirts. Dogs hide under carts. No one says your name. You stomp carefully now, each step placed with intention, like a dance, like a threat softened by guilt. You walk with bent knees, curved spine, fingers curled, so you don't break anything by accident. You haven't crushed a roof in 3 days. That feels like progress. The city grows. Markets bloom. Temples rise. Music spills from windows and vanishes when you pass. They paint the walls with stories, heroes and gods, and great floods. You're not in any of them, but you recognize the silhouette of something large and weeping in the background. It has your eyes. You try not to stare. They call the place Sidra, or maybe Sumer, or something else you can't quite pronounce. The names change every time someone new arrives. You try to call it home, but the word never fits in your mouth. It stretches, cracks, sours. You build a garden on the eastern ridge, wide enough for you to walk between the trees. You plant figs, olives, barley. You sing to the soil like your mother used to. It grows fast, too fast. The fruit spoils before you pick it. The leaves wilt in patterns that look like broken hands. You stop singing. One night, you leave your house to walk the streets. Just to see. Just to be seen. The lamps are lit. The windows glow. You knock gently on a door. No answer. You knock again. Softer. The light goes out. You walk away. Somewhere, someone drops a dish. You hear the shards before the scream. You climb the city's tallest tower and look down. It's beautiful, symmetrical, alive. Every piece shaped by your hands. You don't see a single open door. You sit there until dawn, knees pulled to your chest, watching the people pretend not to look up. You built a city, and you made sure it would survive you. But it never made room for you. And maybe it never will. Your mother cries when she thinks you're asleep. Not loudly, not with sobs or shaking shoulders, just quietly, like she's trying not to disturb the ceiling, like her grief is a secret she's embarrassed to keep. You hear it through the walls sometimes. Thin and cracked, the way everything in this house is now. The walls bend where you brush them. The door creaks before you even touch it. The ceiling has a line in it that wasn't there last week, tracing the shape of your spine when you stand too tall beneath it. She doesn't sing anymore. Not like before, when her voice would rise soft and round, like water from a cool clay jug, back when your name fit in her mouth, back when you fit in her lap. Now, she sharpens knives. Every night. Slow strokes on a stone, careful, rhythmic, like she's humming, but the hum is steel. She doesn't use them. Not for food, not for defense. She just sharpens, one after another. Small ones, long ones, one with a curved edge that used to be your father's. She keeps them clean, polished, awake. You've never asked her why. You don't want to know the answer. Some nights, the knife sounds stop. That's when she cries. You lie still on your mat. You don't breathe too loudly. You don't roll over. You let the silence fill up with the sound of her grief, soft and steady, like rain inside stone. Sometimes she mutters. Names. Prayers. Your name. And then a second name, quieter, the one she never gave you. The one your father whispered when he touched your forehead the first time. That name burns in her mouth. You can tell. You remember when she used to hold your hands up to the sky and say, "Look how strong." Now she won't touch you unless she has to. Her fingers hover, like they're not sure you're finished growing, or finished becoming something else. You tried hugging her once. Last year. She flinched. You told her you were sorry. She said nothing. But later that night, she burned the tunic you wore that day. Said it had holes in it. Said it smelled wrong. You smelled it before she threw it in the fire. It smelled like dirt. Like lightning. Like old wings. You watch her sometimes when she's in the garden pulling herbs by moonlight. Her back is straighter now. Her steps quieter. She doesn't sing to the plants, doesn't coax them. She just takes. Quick and clean, like she's trying to be done before they notice. She keeps the door barred some nights. You don't ask why. You could knock it down if you wanted to. You could crush the whole house between your palms, and it wouldn't even bruise your skin. But you never do. You wait until she opens it, until she says, "Come in," like a stranger invited to supper. She feeds you with her back turned now, slides bowls across the floor like offerings. You eat with your knees pulled up. You don't finish all of it. You never do. The less you eat, the less afraid she looks. You chew slowly, carefully, quietly. You remember the songs. She used to sing one about the river, about how it remembers everything it passes. You hum it to yourself sometimes, under your breath. The words taste different now, heavy, like silt, like something buried beneath water and time. She never sings it anymore. But once, when you were pretending to sleep, you heard her hum the first line, then stop, then the sound of her breath catching in her chest like a net that pulled too tight, then the scrape of the knife again. You don't dream much these days, but when you do, she's in them, standing in a doorway that keeps shrinking, calling your name, but not your name, the old one, the smaller one. You try to answer, but your voice is too loud, and the door shuts before you reach it. You wake up in the dark. She's crying again, and the knives are already sharp. You meet the other sons of the sky, not in a dream, not through a crack in the clouds, not from a distance, while the air shimmers and your bones hum. You meet them in the clearing behind the black hill, where nothing grows and the ground smells like old metal. You don't know who led you there. Your feet just kept walking. Your breath stayed shallow. Your thoughts stepped back to make room. They're already waiting. There are 5, or 7, or 1, folded into itself so many times it looks like a crowd. They glow, but not warmly, not like firelight. It's a clinical glow, a sick glow, like what you'd see if you cracked open the sun and found teeth. One of them burns constantly. His outline shimmers with a heat that doesn't give warmth, only distance. You feel your skin tighten the moment he looks at you, like it's preparing to leave. Another is still, too still, the kind of still that makes you think of graveyards before they have names. His face is smooth and expressionless, but every time he turns his head, the trees rustle, whether there's wind or not. They all wear human shapes, but the shapes wear them back. They don't speak at first, just look. Their eyes are wrong, not cruel, not kind, just ancient, like they remember when gravity was optional, when language wasn't shaped like mouths. You try to speak. You don't know why. Maybe just to prove you're real. One of them raises a hand, long fingers, too many joints. You stop talking. The burning one speaks first. His voice cracks the air, not metaphorically. The sound physically cuts the space between you, and something in the sky flinches. He says, "This is the one?" Another answers, "It is one." Like you're not singular, like you're a symptom. Then they argue, not with voices, with pressure, with overlapping thoughts that make your head ring. They circle you, slow and silent, and the words roll through your skull like waves through stone. Too much flesh, too much fire. Who gave it language? Does it remember its purpose? Does it pretend? You stand there and don't breathe. Not out of fear, though that's there too, but out of instinct. Like if you inhale too loudly, they'll notice your lungs and decide you don't deserve them. One of them steps forward. His skin flickers like a torch in a storm. He doesn't ask. He just opens your mouth with one finger and looks inside like he's checking the furnace of a broken machine. He frowns. You close your mouth and try not to retch. Then one spits lightning. You don't see the movement. Just feel it. An instant of white-hot correction, like being erased mid-sentence. The bolt doesn't hit you. It hits the tree beside you. The tree doesn't burn. It simply ceases to be. Just gone. Like an apology never spoken. You flinch. They notice. The still one tilts his head. Something behind his eyes shifts. He says finally, in a voice like rotting silk, "This one fears." And the burning one responds, "Then it has not fully turned." Turned into what? You don't ask. You already know. They argue more about corruption, about the boundaries between flesh and spirit, about who crossed what line and whether you're worth preserving or just documenting. One of them kneels and places a finger in the dirt. The earth shivers, then splits. A flower grows, then wilts, then weeps. It leaves behind a stone with a single word on it. Almost. You don't ask what it means. You don't think you want to know. When they finally leave, they don't walk. They just disappear. Vanish in overlapping stutters, like bad memories getting deleted from a fragile mind. The clearing is silent again. The tree is still gone. Your heart is still racing. You stand there for a long time, staring at the stone. The wind picks up. It doesn't feel like wind. It feels like attention. You walk home, but you walk smaller, slower. Like maybe, just maybe, someone is still watching and deciding. You invent war by accident. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. You just wanted more goats. That's all. More goats. Yours kept wandering off, or tipping over, or staring at you like they knew something you didn't. So you walked across the ridge to the next valley, where the herds were fatter and slower, and the shepherds less curious. You didn't even take them all, just 6 or 7, enough to feel generous, enough to leave behind a few so they wouldn't notice until morning. You told yourself it wasn't stealing. You told yourself the earth had plenty, that goats didn't understand borders, that nothing truly belongs to anyone, not anymore. But then someone shouted, and then someone else shouted back. And by the time you turned around, the sky had already started to smoke. It moves fast, once it begins. You don't even know who threw the first stone. Maybe it wasn't a stone. Maybe it was a word. or a name said too loudly, or a scream shaped like betrayal. Either way, it lands, and something cracks. Not a wall, not a bone, something older. The valley is loud now. Drums appear. You don't know where from. Maybe someone remembered an old rhythm and needed a reason to use it. Horns follow. Someone sharpens a plow blade and finds it feels better than prayer. You're standing in the middle of it. You, with your arms full of goats and your mouth full of explanations no one wants to hear. Someone calls you a curse. Someone else calls you a leader. You don't answer either. They light the wheat fields first. Flames climb like they've been waiting. Smoke rises too fast to be natural. It curls like language, like a sentence none of you were ready to finish. You drop the goats. They run. A child goes missing in the confusion. You hear her name screamed into the sky 4 times before it fades. You never see her, but you dream about her later, covered in ash, staring at you without eyes, asking, why? In a voice that isn't hers. Someone builds a barricade. Someone else tears it down. A shepherd sharpens his staff into a spear. His brother follows. Their cousin climbs a hill with a torch and no plan. You watch it all from the riverbank, arms crossed, heart thudding like it's trying to shrink. You try to stop it. You shout. You plead. You kneel. You offer your hands, your name, your blood. They don't hear you. They hear your height, your father's blood, your brother's laughter echoing in the smoke. They see your shadow stretch across the hill and call it omen. You crush a cart trying to shield someone's grandmother. She dies anyway. They blame you. A man stabs your leg with a pitchfork. It bends. You don't. He runs. You let him. By nightfall, the fires have spread to the orchard. The fruit trees crackle and hiss. Someone finds a horn from the old days, back when your uncles still walked. The earth in armor made of thunder. They blow it. The sound is wrong. Too deep. Too loud. Something in the clouds stirs. You don't sleep that night. You just sit beside a pile of wet spears and listen to the weeping on both sides. You count how many names you recognize in the sobs. By morning, they've started painting faces. Red for blood spilled, black for vengeance owed, white for the lost. You don't get a color. You're not a side. You're a symptom. You see your brother walking across the ridge with a smile too wide. His hands are empty, but the ground dies where he steps. You don't wave. The child is still missing. The goats never came back, and the valley will never be quiet again. You hear the word Nephilim for the first time. It comes from a mouth that doesn't know you're listening. A whispered thing, sharp-edged, sticky. The kind of word people say when they think the person it's about is far enough away not to notice. But you hear everything these days. It happens near the well, late morning, when the sun is too high and no one has the strength to lie. 2 women, back to back, grinding barley in grief. One says, "He walked past again today." The other says nothing, just spits. Then the first says it, Nephilim. The syllables feel like someone dropping something sacred. You don't know what it means, but you know it doesn't mean welcome. You wait until night to ask your mother. She's sitting in the doorway, scraping the dirt from under her fingernails like it personally betrayed her. You ask carefully, like it's a word you found and want to return. She goes still, not surprised, just tired. She says, "It's what they call the children of watchers." You ask what a watcher is. She says, "An angel who stopped watching." She doesn't say anything else. You whisper the word to yourself later, under your breath, like maybe if you say it gently enough, it won't stain. Nephilim. It sounds like a cough, a fall, a promise broken in reverse. You try to wear it like a title. It fits more like a bruise. The next day, the butcher uses it, not to your face, but loud enough. You step into the square and he says, "Well, look who's here, the Nephilim." He laughs. No one else does. You pretend not to hear. You always pretend not to hear. You stop stepping anywhere for a while. But the name follows. It creeps into corners, onto walls, into prayers, into curses. A mother grabs her son when you pass and mutters, "Don't stare." That's one of the Nephilim. He stares anyway. His eyes are wide and wet, and asking things no one's ever answered. You give him a small wave. He doesn't wave back. You try asking your brother if he's heard it. He snorts. Of course, that's what we are, isn't it? Then he smashes a boulder with his palm and laughs like it owes him money. Better than beast. Better than mistake. You don't agree, but you don't argue either. You try writing it in the dirt, just to see. The letters come easy, like they were already waiting. The wind erases them before you finish. The dust swirls back into your mouth. You taste ash, or maybe blame. The elders say nothing, but they start watching you longer. Not openly, just long enough for you to feel the weight of it on your shoulders like wet wool. You hear them mumble when you pass. "It's in the blood," one says. "It's in the bones," says another. You check your bones that night, just to be sure. You hold your arm up to the firelight and wonder if names can change how marrow grows. You try to ask the sky once, out loud, like an idiot, if it made a mistake. You say, "Is this what I am?" And the wind stops for half a second, like it's thinking about answering. Then a bird falls from the sky, hits the ground, doesn't move. You don't ask again. You try to pray, not for forgiveness, just for clarity. But your knees ache, and your mouth forgets how to shape the old syllables. You end up muttering half of your father's name and biting your tongue when the stars pulse. You don't sleep well anymore. The dreams are louder. Sometimes you see the word carved into rock, sometimes into skin, sometimes burned across the sky like a signature. Sometimes it's not even spelled the same. Sometimes it moves. But it always means you. You learn to carry it. Like a stone in your pocket. Like something someone else dropped, and you were too polite to leave behind. You don't know if it's a curse or a category, but it's yours now. And everyone knows it. The ground stops loving you. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no ceremony, no trumpet from the sky. Just a quiet shift, a reluctance, like the earth is thinking twice before letting you stand on it. It begins with your footprints. They don't fade anymore, not like everyone else's, washed away by dew or kicked into dust by passing goats. Yours stay, deep, stubborn, craters in clay, wounds in the soil. You walk through a field in the morning, and by evening the path still throbs. Children avoid them. Animals won't cross them. Your mother once tried to smooth one out with her heel and spent the next 2 days coughing up dirt. You walk more softly now. Not that it helps. The grass has started curling away from your shadow. Not dramatically. Just enough to notice. Enough to make your gut twist. You kneel in a field of barley, and the blades wilt before your knee even touches them. They don't brown. They don't burn. They just fold, as if they're apologizing for being in your way. You try not to notice. You try not to take it personally. You fail. The river used to love you. You remember that. You remember it from when you were small enough to float and laugh and splash water into your own eyes and not flinch. It used to sparkle when you came near. Now it doesn't move. You kneel at its edge. It recoils. The current slows. The minnows vanish. You dip your hand in and feel nothing. Not cold. Not wet. Just resistance. Like the water wants to be anywhere else. You drink. It tastes like punishment. Like something sour and silent, brewed in regret. You gag, cough, wipe your mouth, and try again. This time it tastes like stone. You spit into the reeds. They wilt. You tell no one. There's a fig tree by the temple. You used to climb it. Once you stayed up there all afternoon telling stories to a bird who seemed to like you. The bird is gone now. The tree is still there. But it doesn't fruit anymore. Not since you leaned against it. Just once. Just a little too long. Now its branches droop. The bark peels in strange patterns. The priests have started whispering about omens. One asked you, too politely, not to touch anything sacred anymore. You nod. You agree. You step backward and leave a bruise on the marble. You tried planting once. Just a little. Just a seed in a pot outside your door. You sang to it, watered it, sheltered it from wind. You did everything right. On the third day, the sprout emerged. On the fourth, it blackened and curled in on itself, like it had seen something it couldn't forget. You buried it. You said nothing. Even your shadow feels heavier now. You see it in the dust, in the way it clings to surfaces. Too sharp, too sure, like it's trying to remind the world that you were here, even after you leave. You walk through the market. The ground whispers, not words, just a hush, a ripple of tension that follows you like smoke. A child drops a basket and starts crying. His mother pulls him away, eyes hard. You smile. She doesn't smile back. You try stepping lighter. But the earth remembers. One morning you wake up to find moss growing around your sleeping mat in a perfect circle, except for where your head rested. That part is bare, raw, dry as bone. You stand up too fast. The mat tears beneath you. You leave it. There's a mountain near the edge of the valley. You go there sometimes. You climb it slowly, carefully. The stones hold for now. The wind still lets you pass. You reach the top, sit down, and run your fingers through the dust. The dust stays. It doesn't flee. It just watches. You press your hand into the soil. Deep, full weight. When you pull it back, the imprint is perfect. But nothing grows there again. It screamed in your dreams. High, thin, wrong. The kind of sound that threads itself through your ribs and pulls something loose. You hear it as you run through a forest that wasn't there before. Trees bent like old men. Bark peeled back like lips. The moon doesn't follow you. The stars are all turned around. But that sound, raw, desperate, not quite animal, not quite God. It chases you through the leaves. It pleads. Then it shatters. You wake up with blood on your teeth. Your mouth tastes like metal and moss. Your tongue is nicked. Your jaw aches, like it was clenched around something that didn't go quietly. Your fingers are curled into fists. One of your nails is cracked. You spit. Red. You're smiling. That's what breaks you. Not the blood, not the ache, the smile, the way it lingers like a secret, the way it stretches your face like a memory you haven't earned. You sit up. The mat beneath you is torn. There's a line of dirt across the floor, like something was dragged. A smear on the wall. Not enough to explain anything, but too much to ignore. You stand. The house is silent. Your mother is gone. No knife sounds, no muttering, just dust in the air and the slow, steady pulse of dread in your chest. You step outside. There's a crowd. Not close, just visible. Ringed around something near the eastern gate. No one's shouting, no one's running. That's worse. It's a quiet that hums. A hush that says, don't speak unless you want to admit you were there. You walk toward it. The people part. They don't look at you. At the center, there's a shape. Large, pale, winged. The wings are wrong, folded backward, like they tried to escape, but forgot which way was up. The head is turned too far. The mouth is still open. A soundless O. The chest is caved in, like a mistake. The eyes are wet, but empty. You know it. Not its name exactly, but you know its weight. You know the feeling of its presence in dreams. You've heard it breathing behind clouds. You've felt its shadow cool the fire inside your ribs. It was sacred. It's not anymore. Someone says it came down from the mountain. Someone else says it was here to warn you, to offer mercy, to test the village. No one says why it's dead. They all think it was one of the others, the loud ones, the cruel ones. You don't correct them. You kneel. Slowly. Your knees leave dents in the earth. The air is thick. Your hands tremble as they reach for the body. You stop just short. There's something in the feathers. A pattern. A burn. A set of marks shaped like your name, but older. Like the word your father spoke over your crib, in a voice that made the oil lamps flicker. You close your eyes. You see it again. The forest. The moonless run. The shape in the clearing. The way it turned to you. Not afraid. Not angry. Just expectant. Like it knew. Like it forgave you before you even moved. Like it was tired. You moved anyway. And now it's here. The blood on your teeth has dried. Your mouth feels foreign. You try to unclench it. It creaks. Someone behind you sobs. Someone else curses. You rise. You walk away before they can ask. That night, you sleep without dreaming. But something breathes under your floor. And the smile still comes. Just for a moment. Just long enough to remind you. Some things die too quietly to be mourned. And you were built to forget. You try to apologize with a monument. Not with words. Those don't work anymore. You've tried them. Whispered, shouted, etched into clay, and smeared into dust. But words warp when they come out of your mouth. They echo too loud. They sound like threats even when you mean them soft. So you build. You build because your hands are too big for gestures, and your regrets are too loud for silence. You start with a tower. Stones hauled from the riverbed, heavy as guilt. You place each one with care, pressing them together like maybe if you fit the pieces right, the shame will hold. It rises slowly. 50 cubits. 100. Taller than the trees. Taller than the shrine your mother still visits when she thinks you're asleep. The people come to watch. They don't ask what it's for. They already know. Some whisper atonement. Others say pride. They're both right. You carve a name into the foundation. Not yours, hers. The one with the wings bent backward and the mouth still open in your dreams. You write it in a language no one speaks anymore, just in case the sky is still listening. But the birds won't land on the stones. So you build again. A temple this time. Not for gods, for memory. It sits on the ridge above the orchard. The one you used to run through barefoot before your feet cracked the roots. You shape the roof like open hands. You fill the walls with scenes, villages, rivers, the sacred thing with feathers, the color of silence. You make her eyes kind. They aren't. You just don't remember what they really looked like. The villagers come. Some leave offerings. Some spit. One man smears ash on the doorway and says it's cursed. Another lights a candle and doesn't stop crying. You watch from the tree line. You don't go inside. You don't think you're welcome. Still, it doesn't feel like enough. So you find the mountain, the one past the valley where the fog never clears. You climb it slowly, barefoot, letting the rock bite. You bleed. You take that as a good sign. Something still remembers how to hurt. At the peak, you carve a poem. Just 4 lines. Something you heard in your mother's voice once, back when her songs still ended in lullabies and not warnings. You don't know what the words mean. You just know they're old. You carve them deep. Each stroke rattles the stone. Each word leaves dust in your throat. When you finish, you sit and wait. For forgiveness. For a sign. For something soft. You wait 3 days. Nothing comes. Not wind. Not birds. Not sleep. Just your own thoughts turning brittle in your head. You climb down. The tower is still there, but something's cracked in the middle. You run your hand over the break. It hums, like a bone trying to remember its shape. The temple smells like smoke. Someone's burned incense, or maybe an opinion. The walls are scratched now. Someone has drawn over your carvings. Stick figures with knives. Smiling mouths with too many teeth. You don't erase them. The mountain poem stays untouched, but no one reads it. No one climbs that far. They say the air's too thin, or the stones whisper, or the gods sleep there and don't want company. You return to the valley. You walk slower now. You still hope someone forgives you. They don't. But sometimes a child looks at you and doesn't cry. And sometimes that's almost enough. Enoch returns. He doesn't smile. You know it's him before you see him. The air changes. The clouds lower their voices. The birds stop mid-flight and hang, weightless, like they've forgotten what wings are for. He doesn't walk so much as arrive, sandal pressed into dirt that doesn't dare shift, robe the color of unspoken thoughts, eyes too quiet, not gentle, just absent of tolerance. His mouth is a shut gate. His hands are empty, but you know he's carrying something heavier than law. He doesn't blink when he sees you. You try to stand taller. You try not to shift your weight like a child caught with crumbs in his mouth. You try to look him in the eye. You fail. He stops 4 paces away. He smells like smoke and stone tablets. Not fire, not ash, just the memory of things burned for the sake of clarity. He says your name, not the one your mother gave you, not the one the villagers whisper, but the original one. The one your father brought down in a dream, wrapped in thunder. You flinch. He begins. No scroll, no list, no finger pointed to heaven, just words. Each one a stone, thrown gently into your chest. He names your first sin, the goat, the one you took and lied about, even though the lie helped no one and fooled nothing. Then the next, the scream you ignored in the fog, too tired to turn around, too proud to admit you were scared. Then the next, the monument you built too late, and the blood you tried to wash off your hands with poetry. He doesn't pause. He doesn't look away. He names the sin you don't even remember, the one that lived behind your smile, the morning the sacred thing died, the sin of feeling holy when you stood above the temple and believed the wind belonged to you. Your knees shake. You stay upright out of spite, not strength. He continues. He speaks of the war, of the tower, of the reed basket that whispered your name and you did nothing, of the stone with the letters that weren't yours but you kept anyway. He tells you the ground is sick of you. He tells you the water forgets your reflection on purpose. He tells you the sky files your prayers under noise. And still, no anger, just accounting, just a census of your rot. You can't look at him. You run. You don't know why. You don't know where. Just that your feet still work, and the silence around him tastes like judgment left out in the sun. You reach the river, the same one that stopped loving you, the same one that recoils now as your shadow touches it. You fall to your knees, and you throw up. It's not food, not bile, not blood. It's something older, sour, familiar, a memory curdled in the stomach. It hits the water, and the fish scatter. The reeds hiss. You retch again. Nothing comes out this time, but the ache stays. Behind you, Enoch doesn't move. You can feel him. Not his eyes, his presence. Like a sealed room, like the pause before a verdict. You try to speak. Try to say something, anything, that might resemble remorse. What comes out is a sound you don't recognize. It hurts. He steps once, then twice, stands behind you, close enough that the river darkens. He says one more thing, just one. This was never about punishment. Then he turns and leaves. No thunder, no pillar of flame, just distance. You stay by the river until the moon replaces the sun, and your stomach forgets how to feel hollow. You whisper your name again. It doesn't answer. You learn the word judgment. It comes from Enoch's mouth, 2 nights after he left. Or maybe he never left. Maybe he's still walking the edge of the valley, measuring breath and blame. You hear it in a dream. Not a voice, not quite. More like a verdict that floats up through the soil and lodges behind your teeth. It tastes like metal, cold, bitter, like chewing on a nail someone already bled on. You wake up choking on dry air, not coughing, just gasping, as if you've been underwater too long and only now remembered how to want oxygen. You sit up, the mat creaks, the walls lean away from you. Even your house doesn't want to be near you tonight. You whisper the word once, just to feel it. Judgment. It echoes without sound. It leaves a ringing in your sinuses. You press your hands against your ears, but it's not that kind of noise. It's inside, buried. You don't sleep again. Not that you really sleep anymore. You close your eyes, sure. You lie still. You wait. But the rest doesn't come. You just drift. Float above yourself like smoke in a locked room. Every dream ends with someone pointing. Every silence ends with your name. You start sleeping with one eye open. The right one. The left has started twitching at night. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's blood memory. Maybe something is behind it, knocking. You used to dream of rivers, of fig trees, of girls with laughter like water. Now you dream of numbers, tallies on skin, stones stacked in strange spirals, a mouth in the sky speaking your crimes backwards, each syllable erasing a tooth. You ask your mother what judgment means. She doesn't answer. She just looks at you like she did when you were small and broke the spindle, not angry, not sad, just resigned, like something she gave birth to is becoming something else. Again, you leave before she has to say anything. The goats are gone. The villagers don't speak when you pass. The children stare too long, then look away too fast. One draws a picture of you in the dust with a noose around your neck. You pretend you don't see it. You walk the hills. You find altars you didn't build, bones you didn't bury, names scratched into stone beside prayers that sound more like warnings. One says, "May the sky forget him." You trace the letters with your finger. They smear like oil. You wipe your hand on your tunic. The stain stays. You begin to count the birds, because they've stopped singing, one by one. The first silence came from the cedar grove, then the orchard. Now the fig tree hasn't heard wings in days. You count their absence like footsteps. You try to pray once, just once. You kneel. You press your forehead to the dirt. You speak the name your father left you. The stars blink. Something moves in the tall grass. You finish your prayer and vomit again. Dry this time. Just heat and regret. You hear the word judgment again the next morning. From the well, a woman says it like it's a prophecy already fulfilled. Another answers, "It's coming." Neither of them says your name, but they don't have to. You start seeing patterns. In the cracks on the walls, in the way the trees lean, in the flight paths of the crows that still haven't left. You start to think the sky is folding into itself, and you are the crease. The birds don't leave because they're waiting to watch. You build another fire that night. Not for warmth, for light. You stare into it and hope to see something holy. You don't. Only your reflection. Only your eyes. And how one is always just slightly more open than the other. You whisper the word again. Judgment. It fits too easily now. You go inside. You lie down. You don't close either eye. You watch the sky divide. Not like rain, not like storms. This isn't weather, this is surgery. A slow, precise split running from horizon to horizon, clean as a blade through cloth. The clouds don't roll. They tear. Fibrous and reluctant. You can hear it. The sound of something old unraveling. It wakes you before the sun. You step outside. Everyone else is still asleep, or pretending to be. The air smells like burnt silver. The wind holds its breath. Even the dogs refuse to bark. Above you, the stars start falling. One at first, then three, then so many they stop feeling special. They don't twinkle. They don't streak. They drop straight down, like coins tossed into a well too deep to echo. Each one leaves a hole. Not in the sky, in you. Tiny absences that hum beneath your ribs. You clutch your chest like that will help. It doesn't. The holes don't bleed. They just whisper. Then something climbs down. It doesn't fall. It descends, gracefully, deliberately, step after step, as if it's walking a spiral staircase made of nothing. Its robes don't flutter. Its face is calm. It looks like your father. Same jawline, same brows, same gaze that once made a fig tree blossom from dust, but different now. He's not smiling anymore. You try to speak. Your mouth forgets how. Your tongue lies still. You blink and he's closer. It isn't him. It wears his shape, but too precisely. Like a mask drawn from memory, pressed into flesh. The shoulders are too straight. The eyes don't blink. The skin doesn't wrinkle when it turns. It looks at you. You don't know how you know, but you do. It's not looking for you. It's looking through you. Past your skin. Past your years. Past the half-built regret you carry like a limp. It speaks. You don't hear it with your ears. The sound arrives fully formed behind your teeth. It says, "Time is folding." You don't ask what that means. You don't want to know. You take a step back. The ground softens. Your heel sinks an inch deeper than it should. Grass wilts beneath your weight. The stars keep falling. One hits the orchard and doesn't stop burning. The figure watches you flinch. Then it lifts its hand. Not in anger, not in welcome. Just up, like a question mark, made of bone. The sky splits wider. You see shapes behind it. Limbs too long. Wings made of letters. Faces that never learned symmetry. They don't move. They just wait. Like statues carved from warning. You fall to your knees. It doesn't help. You whisper your name. Not the old one, not the sacred one. Just the small, broken version your mother used when she thought no one could hear. The name that used to mean child. The figure tilts its head. Another voice speaks. This one from inside your spine. It says, "He's not here." You look up. The thing wearing your father's shape nods once. Then it changes. Not shape. Presence. The air around it thickens. The moon dims. You hear children crying from inside their homes, though they're not awake yet. Your skin prickles. Your bones feel watched. It steps forward. You think to run. You don't. It reaches you. Bends at the waist. Looks into your eyes like it's searching for a door you accidentally left open. You feel your memories squirm. You feel your guilt rise like smoke. It doesn't touch you. It just says, "Soon." Then it straightens, turns, and walks back into the sky. Not up. In. The clouds seal behind it. The stars stop falling. The wind remembers itself and starts again. You stay kneeling. The grass around you doesn't grow back. The hole in your chest still hums. You don't know if you saw judgment or warning, but the face looked like your father, and it didn't smile. You can't eat enough to feel full anymore. Not that you haven't tried. You've tried. You've eaten whole lambs by the firelight, tongues still steaming. You've dragged fig trees to the ground and stripped them clean. You've swallowed fish before the river had time to forget them. You've cracked open honeycombs with your fists and licked the bees from your skin. And still, the ache stays. Not hunger, not really. Hunger is simple. Hunger is a question. This is something else. This is a hole, not just inside you, but around you, like the air itself is subtracting. You eat anyway, but food rots in your mouth now. Flesh turns sour before your teeth finish. Milk curdles as it touches your tongue. Bread blackens the moment you swallow, leaves ash in your throat. Even the water twists. You've started holding your breath as you drink, so the scent doesn't warn you in time. You've stopped hunting, not because you can't, but because the bones keep breaking before the kill. You touch a goat once, gently, with the back of your hand, and its rib cage folds like reeds. The other goats scatter. The herder drops his staff and walks away without speaking. You leave the corpse where it fell. You don't bury things anymore. You sit by the temple some nights, just to smell the offerings. You don't go in, not since the roof cracked when you whispered a psalm, but the smoke leaks out anyway. You inhale it like it might trick your stomach into silence. It doesn't. You start chewing on dreams. At first they're soft, unripe. You pluck them while half asleep and roll them between your teeth. Memories of riverbanks, the taste of sugarcane, a name spoken softly in the dark. They're not nourishing, but they pass the time. Then they change. They become bitter. You bite into one and feel the sky scream. You bite another and your tongue bleeds. One night you chew too hard and wake up spitting feathers. Not yours, not anymore. You try not to sleep after that, but you do. You always do. The hunger drags you under like an anchor. Some mornings, you wake up with your jaw sore and your pillow torn. Once you wake up with blood on your hands and teeth marks in the floor. You don't ask whose. The stones won't say. You try to eat a scroll once. You don't know why. It just seemed right. Like the words might fill something the figs couldn't. You chew carefully. The ink burns your lips. The parchment crumbles. You swallow every verse. It doesn't help. Your brother visits. He brings a boar, alive, heavy, proud. He tosses it at your feet and grins. See if this one breaks. It does. He laughs anyway. Maybe we were never meant to be full. You don't answer. You watch the blood pool around your toes and think about how the stars used to taste like salt. You try eating slowly. You try eating nothing. You try praying before each bite. You try singing. You try screaming. You try silence. Nothing helps. The hunger doesn't grow. It waits. Like it knows, you'll give in. You gnaw the inside of your cheek until your mouth fills with copper. You swallow it. It's the closest you've come to relief in weeks. A child offers you a fig once. You say no. Not because you're not hungry, but because she looks at you like she wants to know what you'll do. And you don't trust your answer. You sit alone that night and listen to your stomach ask questions your mouth can't answer. You press your hand to it, hard, as if pain might count as nourishment. It doesn't. The stars are quiet. The moon doesn't look at you anymore. You dig your teeth into a memory, the one where your mother sang. It holds, barely. You close your eyes and chew slower. You try to hide in the mountains. Not run, not yet. Just step away. Just disappear for a while. Just fold yourself into something older than the valley and hope it forgets to look for you. The mountains don't want you. You feel it the moment your foot touches the slope. The stones shift. Not loud, just enough to say they noticed. The grass between the rocks shrinks. The wind comes sharp and sideways, like it's trying to push you back toward whatever mistake you crawled out of. But you keep going, because the village is quieter now, not peaceful, just paused, like a breath held too long. Eyes follow you without turning. Children whisper names you never gave them. Your mother won't look at you when you pass, but you see the knife she sleeps beside. So you climb. The air thins faster than it should. Not altitude, something else, like the sky doesn't want to share. You swallow it anyway. You pull it into your lungs and feel it scrape. You taste copper, or guilt, or snow. The caves are too small. You find one, then another, then another. None wide enough. You duck, crawl, twist your shoulders sideways, but the stone pushes back, like it knows your shape, like it remembers the stories about what you've done. You sleep outside. The eagles scream when they see you, not warning, rage. They circle overhead, sharp and hateful, as if the sky sent them to remind you you're visible. One of them dives once. You don't flinch. It turns just before impact, talons missing your eye by inches. It drops a feather, black, bent. You don't pick it up. The snow comes on the second night. It doesn't fall. It arrives, sits heavy in the air. Thick, wet, too warm. You catch a flake on your tongue and taste something you don't recognize. Not water, not cold, something sour and familiar. It tastes like betrayal. Not yours, theirs. The snow covers everything except your tracks. It fills the hollows, piles on the rocks, seals the trees. But your footprints stay, dark and deep and wrong. You try to walk in circles. You try to brush them away with a branch. The branch snaps. The prints remain. You dig a hole in the snow to sleep in. It closes around you, soft and silent, and for a moment, you feel held. Then you feel watched. You turn over, and the wind whispers your name in a voice that doesn't want an answer. You don't sleep. In the morning, something's followed you. The tracks are light, delicate, human-shaped, but too narrow. They circle your pit once, twice, then vanish into the trees. You don't chase them. You just stare. You count the steps. You press your hand to one and feel it twitch beneath your palm. You move higher. The trees grow thin. The sky grows closer. The cold grows clever. You try to pray again. Not for forgiveness. Just permission. To hide. To be forgotten. You whisper it into the rock. Into the wind. Into the snow. The mountain doesn't answer. It just leans. You build a fire. It doesn't burn right. The flames curl away from you. The smoke runs uphill. The logs hiss like they know your name. You eat nothing. You drink meltwater from a stone bowl, and it tastes like memory, the bad kind. On the fourth day, you see another figure on a ridge across the gorge. It looks like you, but smaller, hungrier. Its eyes glow. It doesn't wave. It just watches. You lie down in the snow that night and try to remember a lullaby, the one with the stars and the river, the one your mother used to hum before you started cracking the floorboards. You hum the tune. The wind finishes it with a different ending. You don't cry. You just listen, because you're not hiding anymore. You're waiting. You cry without knowing why. Not loud, not sudden, just slow, like your body remembering something your mind won't admit. It starts in the throat, that ache, that pressure, the tremble behind your teeth that doesn't quite form into words. Then your eyes burn, not from pain, from remembering how not to blink. You're sitting on a rock when it happens, high enough that the valley below looks like someone else's story. You haven't moved in hours. The cold has settled into your bones like regret. You stopped shivering hours ago, and still, the tears come. They slip down your cheeks quiet and hot. They carve little trails through the ash on your face. You wipe them away, once, twice. Then you stop. Let them run. Let them fall. You wait for grief to explain itself. It doesn't, because this isn't grief. It's recognition of something old, of something carved into the underside of your ribs and forgotten. It's in the wind. It's in the way the clouds scrape the peaks without looking down. It's in the sound the sky makes when it forgets how to thunder. You hear names. not spoken, just carried. They brush against your ears like the breath of someone leaning in. They're not names you say, they're names you feel. Some are soft, some are sharp, some taste like mud. One of them makes your left hand clench before you know it's happening. You forgot you knew them, but your body remembers. Your fingers twitch with the shape of 1,000 handshakes. Your mouth tastes like oaths you once made in a language that doesn't exist anymore. You cry harder, not for guilt, not for shame, but because remembering hurts more than forgetting. The wind shifts again. A name passes by and your shoulder flinches. Another, and your back straightens. One more, and your heart does something strange, like pausing mid-beat to make room. You whisper one of the names out loud. It doesn't echo, but something in the trees leans closer. You say another, and the birds fall silent. You try a third, and your jaw locks so tightly it cracks. The sound echoes off the cliffs like a warning. You stop speaking, but the tears don't. They fall like they've been waiting, like they were promised, like the moment you turned away from the city, they knew it was time. The ground beneath you shifts, not visibly, just subtly, a nudge, as if the mountain is adjusting itself around your sadness. You feel small. You haven't felt small in years. You remember what that was like. Before the tower, before the sky bled open, before the bones broke in your hands just from holding. You remember being held. Your mother, maybe. Or something bigger. Something with wings and a face made of thunder. Something that hummed lullabies and pressed you into soft ground before the world grew sharp. You cry for that. You cry because you're too big now to be held again. You bury your face in your arms and let it come. All of it. The remembering, the names, the wind that keeps pulling them through your ears like threads. You're not alone. That's the worst part. Because some of the names are yours. Old versions. Forgotten titles. Half-sung warnings. One is a command. One is a wound. One sounds like laughter, but it ends like a scream. You sit until the sun forgets to rise. You don't count the tears. There's no use. They're not yours, anyway. You're just the vessel. The jar that cracked but still holds. When you finally stand, your knees tremble. The rock beneath you is wet with salt. You take one step. The wind whispers another name. You nod and keep walking. You finally ask for forgiveness. You don't plan it. There's no speech, no altar. Just a moment when your knees stop, pretending they can hold you up, and your mouth forgets how to stay closed. You drop to the dirt like it invited you, and the words crawl out on their own. I'm sorry. Not loud, not proud. Just enough. The sky doesn't answer. It doesn't blink, doesn't cloud over, doesn't so much as sigh. It just remains. Broad and blank and endless. The same sky that watched you build towers and bury names and smile with blood still drying on your tongue. The same sky that split in half to let something climb down. You try again. I didn't know what I was becoming. The wind moves, but not toward you. It passes like you're not there, like you're already dust. You press your palms into the ground, hard enough that they hurt. The dirt is dry. The roots underneath curl away. You say it once more, voice cracking now. I'm sorry. This time the trees shift. Not toward you, away. You see their branches turn, just slightly, as if you've become a cold front, or a story they'd rather not hear again. The leaves rattle, like whispers too polite to be accusations. You drop your head. The rocks don't move, but they feel different. You've sat on these rocks before, climbed them, broken them, named them in poems, and punched them in silence. But now they hum, not kindly, not cruelly, just disappointed. Like they expected more, like they remember the day you were carved. And this wasn't the ending they rehearsed. You sit back on your heels. Let your arms fall. Let your head tilt toward the emptiness above. You whisper a question this time. Is it too late? The air doesn't move, but the birds start flying the other way. You close your eyes. You think about the first time you hurt someone on purpose. Not for survival, not by mistake, but because it felt like control. You remember the sound, not the scream, the silence afterward. That sharp, endless pause that felt like applause. You remember liking it. You remember telling yourself it didn't count. You open your eyes. The world is still here. That's something, isn't it? You reach for a small stone nearby. Round, light. You hold it in your palm. You try to pray through it, like maybe the weight will steady you. It doesn't. But it listens. More than the sky. More than the trees. The stone doesn't flinch. It doesn't shift. It just sits in your hand and accepts the warmth of your shaking. So you speak to it instead. I remember her wings. The rock stays silent. I didn't want to. I didn't stop myself. The rock grows heavier. Not physically, just in meaning. I don't want to be this. Your voice breaks on the last word. Or maybe your name does. You lay the stone down gently, like you're returning something borrowed. Then you look up again. Still no sign. Not of forgiveness. Not of wrath. Not of anything. And somehow, that's worse. You wanted fire. You wanted rain. You wanted a crack in the sky, or a voice from the deep, or even just a single leaf to land at your feet. You get nothing, except the sound of your own breath, and the knowledge that maybe it was never about being forgiven. Maybe it's just about finally being the one who asks. You stand. Slower this time. The dirt lets you go, but it doesn't thank you. The trees remain turned away, and the sky, still blank, still watching, still deciding. You watch the human build a box. It starts with trees, ordinary ones, nothing sacred, just rough trunks dragged from the grove like sacrifices too small to matter. He cuts them with stone, binds them with pitch. His hands bleed. His back cracks. He sings under his breath, tuneless and stubborn. He talks to the sky as if it owes him answers. You sit in the hills, hunched and quiet, arms wrapped around your knees like a child, and you watch. The box isn't large at first, just bones, just splinters. It grows slowly, like it's ashamed, like it knows it doesn't belong here. Too straight, too narrow, too hopeful. No, that's not it. Not hope. Obedience. It smells different, heavy, iron-tasting, like a promise someone actually intends to keep. It glows, faintly, not like fire, like memory, like the echo of a command still being obeyed. You hate the shape of it. Too ordered, too simple. A box shouldn't hum, it shouldn't pulse, it shouldn't carry the weight of a world beneath its nails. But this one does. You come closer, on the third day. Not enough to be seen, just enough to hear him mutter. He talks to himself, to the trees, to the wood as if it's listening. Maybe it is. Maybe that's what the obedience is for. So the planks won't flinch when they're asked to carry sorrow. You watch him hammer in silence. He misses sometimes, curses, then starts again. The others think he's mad. They say so, loudly. They point, laugh, spit, throw stones. None of them land. The air around the box catches them, redirects them, not angrily, just firmly, like a mother guiding a child's hand away from the fire. You throw nothing. You just watch, because deep down you remember that feeling, that pull, that quiet, terrified ache to obey something higher than yourself, before the blood, before the towers, before your smile started killing things. The man keeps building. The box becomes a shape, then a vessel, then a question no one wants to answer. It leaks. At first. But he patches it, seam by seam, bit by bit, as if redemption is something you can caulk into place. You wait for it to fail. It doesn't. The animals come next, 2 by 2. That's what the voices say. You don't count. You just notice the silence that follows each arrival, the reverence, the way even the lions walk slowly, as if they know they are part of something unbearable. You wonder if he'll let you in. You know the answer. You wouldn't fit anyway. The box is not for giants. It's not for those who forgot how to obey. It's not for you. And still, you watch. Night after night. Dreamless, sleepless. You curl into yourself beside a boulder and count the planks. You trace the shape of the ribs it now carries. You imagine floating, drifting, starting again. But that's not what this is. This is not a rescue. This is an ending with a door. And a door that will close. And when it does, it will stay closed. You see the man look up sometimes, toward the sky, toward the same blank stretch of blue that once cracked to let your father in. He doesn't ask for miracles. He just nods, as if to say, "Yes, I heard." You whisper to the wind that you heard too. It doesn't answer, but the box creaks. Alive now, waiting. You want to hate it, but you don't. You envy it, not because it will survive, but because it knows what it was made for. You mock the ark, loudly, not in whispers, not behind trees. You stand on the ridge where everyone can see you, your shadow long and smug in the morning light. You raise your voice like a banner, flinging insults into the valley, sharp and easy. You call it a box of sticks, a floating grave. You say the old man's mind has rotted like the wood he hammers. People laugh. That helps. They join in, throw curses like stones. One of them even dances, pretending to drown, flailing in the dust while others cheer. You clap along, loud and hollow. Something inside you starts to warm. It feels good, the laughter. Not joy, power, control. Like wrestling back the story before it decides your ending for you. The man doesn't respond. He just keeps building. Your mockery grows bolder. You impersonate him now, hunched, muttering. You add a limp, a stupid smile. You roar at the animals as they march by, pretending to speak their tongue. He's feeding wolves next to sheep. You shout. Hope they don't get hungry before the rain. That one kills. They howl. The ground trembles with it. Your name carries farther than it has in weeks. The ark says nothing, but the echo starts. It catches you off guard. You finish a joke. Something crude about elephants and the smell of rot, and pause for breath. That's when you hear it. Your laugh, thrown back at you, but wrong. Too deep, too long, too amused. You try to ignore it. You speak louder. You mock harder. You wave your arms, stomp, yell. You call the man a coward, a lunatic, a slave to voices he made up to feel special. The echo laughs again. This time it sounds closer. You pause. You blink. You turn your head slightly. Just slightly. But enough to notice that the others are no longer smiling. Some of them are backing away. You ask them why. But the echo answers first. It says your joke again, word for word, but slower, like it's chewing. You don't laugh. You try to smile, but your mouth forgets how. The echo keeps going. It repeats things you didn't say out loud, private things, sins you thought you buried deep beneath the mountain. The laughter changes pitch. It tilts. It starts to sound like you. But not you now. You, before. Before the hunger. Before the silence. Before Enoch. You step back. The wind stops moving. The ark creaks once. Not in protest. In acknowledgement. You look around. No one's laughing anymore. The dancers are gone. The watchers have turned their backs. Even the goats have wandered off, as if embarrassed to be part of the audience. You stand alone on the ridge. The echo won't stop. It giggles now, childlike and mean. It makes your old voice say new things, crueler things. You cover your ears, but the sound blooms behind your eyes. You drop to your knees. You press your palms to the dirt. I was joking, you say. The echo agrees, but it doesn't stop. You whisper your name. It turns it inside out. You open your mouth to beg. It begs first. The ark watches, not with eyes, with presence, with mass, with the gravity of something that has already been forgiven and no longer needs to explain itself. The old man nails another beam. You flinch at the sound. It echoes too. You rise, slowly, and walk away. You don't look back. You don't laugh again that night. Not even once. You smell the rain before it falls. Not moisture. Not soil. Not petrichor or life or anything the poets promised. This isn't water. It's judgment liquefied. It coats your throat before the first drop even lands. It settles on your shoulders like a sentence too old to appeal. The sky's been bruising all day. It didn't darken. It rotted. Inch by inch, the blue peeled back. The clouds stopped floating. They just hovered. Heavier than air, denser than silence. Somewhere up there, the weight of something ancient gathered its breath. And then the smell came. Thick, metallic, like rust ground into milk, like wet stone and animal blood, like shame turned humid. You tasted it first. Your tongue shrank in your mouth, curled against your teeth, tried to hide behind your molars like a child peeking around a door. You swallowed, but it didn't help. The flavor crawled deeper. You knew what it was. Even before the wind changed, even before the goats screamed and fled without direction, even before the trees bent at the waist and whispered, "Now." You start to run, but your feet hesitate. Not because of fear, because of memory. The earth remembers you, and you remember what you did to it. Your heel sinks with every step. Your shadow lags behind like it wants no part of this. The first drop lands behind you. You don't hear it. You feel it. A tremor in the air. A shiver through the roots. A note too low for music. You glance back. Just once. The sky is unraveling. Not pouring. Not yet. Just opening. Carefully. Lovingly. Like a wound reopening to finish what it started. You run harder. Your breath shortens. Not from exertion. From guilt. The arc glows in the distance. Not bright. Just enough to mark the horizon. Just enough to remind you who was warned. You stumble. The mud welcomes you. Wraps your ankle like a handshake. You pull free. Leave a sandal behind. The rain hasn't touched you yet, but the air is wet with arrival. You pass a fig tree. It's already weeping. The bark splits. The leaves curl inward. Fruit drops, bursting open on the ground, full of worms that weren't there yesterday. You remember planting a fig tree once. You named it after someone you loved. It died before it bore fruit. The clouds split again. This time they groan, like they regret waiting. You reach the ridge where you once laughed, where the echo learned your voice and refused to give it back. The wind there is sharper now. It slices through your clothes like teeth through linen. You bleed without breaking. You see the others running too. Some toward the ark, most in circles. One kneels and prays to a stone. Another shouts at the sky and tears their clothes. A woman cradles an empty basket and begs it to float. None of it matters. The second drop lands. You don't see it, you just feel the scream. Somewhere behind you, something large stops moving. Forever. You don't look back again. You run with your head down, your breath ragged, your mouth full of iron. Your name feels too large in your throat. You try to spit it out. It sticks. The arc is closer now. So close you can hear wood shifting. So close you can smell pitch and sweat and obedience baked into every joint. So close you can almost lie to yourself, but not close enough. Not for forgiveness. Not for mercy. Just close enough to watch the door seal and know you were never on the list. The sky releases itself and the rain begins. You climb and climb and climb, because what else is there? The valleys are already gone, drowned in gray. The rivers don't flow anymore. They reach up, out, higher, like hands trying to grab anything that still breathes. So you run for the mountains. You don't think. You don't plan. You just move. Because the water never stops. It doesn't surge. It creeps. Relentless. Patient. It doesn't chase you. It expects you. Like it knows how this ends. The first hill gives way beneath your feet. Slick with rot. Soft with regret. You grab for a tree root, and it rips out like hair from a dying scalp. You scramble. You curse. You rise again, soaked to the ribs. The storm above rumbles, not in anger, in memory, like it's heard your voice before, like it remembers the last time you tried to be higher than the flood. You reach a ledge. It breaks. Not all at once, just a slow groan, like a disappointed teacher. The rock crumbles like sand in your grip. You fall backward, scrape your arm open, and taste salt that isn't yours. You don't look down. You don't look back. You keep climbing. The trees thin. The air shrinks. But the rain doesn't stop. It drills. It whispers. It seeps into every seam of your skin. Your clothes cling like apologies. You try not to cry because you don't want your tears confused with mercy. A branch snaps under your hand. You scream at it. At the tree. At the mountain. At the wind that once carried your father's voice. You scream at the sky like it owes you something. The thunder doesn't blink. It doesn't even flinch. You wonder if that's the point. Another ledge. Higher. Steeper. You haul yourself up by a vine that coils like it's ashamed to be helpful. Your knees tremble. Your fingers blister. Your breath hiccups in your throat. You see others in the distance. Shapes. Moving up the next ridge. Not many. Just enough to remind you you're not alone in your failure. One slips. You don't watch where he lands. You reach a boulder. Tall, flat, final. You think, this is it. You scramble atop it. Kneel. Pant. Press your palms to the cold stone and feel it pulse. Not with life, with judgment, like the mountain itself is trying to shrug you off. You scream again. At the clouds, at the sky, at the place where stars used to live before the flood swallowed even the heavens. You say your name, loud, defiant. You shout every title you ever stole, every name you were called, every word you wish you'd earned. Nothing answers. Not the thunder, not the wind, not even the silence. You stand. You spread your arms like wings you don't have. You look up like maybe, just maybe, the storm has a face. It doesn't. It's just black, and wide, and full. The rain thickens. It no longer falls. It pours sideways, diagonal, hungry. You can't see the valley anymore. Just water. Endless. Climbing faster than you can. You take one last breath. It doesn't help. You climb again. Hands scraped raw. Knees buckling. You claw at the mud. You dig into stone. You find no handholds, only accusations. The clouds split again. Just enough to show you how far you haven't come. The mountain above you stretches like guilt. Too tall. Too late. You scream one final time. But this time, It sounds like begging. The thunder doesn't blink. It just keeps watching. You say your own name for the last time. It doesn't come out strong, not the way you used to say it. Loud, stretched across banquet halls and battlefields, stamped into stone, etched into terrified hearts. No, this time it stumbles. It catches on your tongue like a lie you don't believe anymore. It sounds like someone else's. Maybe it always was. You're crouched on the last patch of rock, not claimed by the sea. Your toes curl over the edge, muddy and split, clinging like roots that know they'll be torn loose anyway. Behind you, the mountain is gone. You thought you were still climbing, but at some point you just started sinking slower than the rest. You whisper your name again. It echoes, barely. The storm swallows most of it. What comes back is hollow, like someone trying to remember you from a dream. You look up. The sky's still bleeding. No more lightning, just bruises and bone-deep groans. The clouds look like they've been crying longer than you've been alive. They remember you, but not kindly. You try to speak the name louder. It breaks. Not the sky, not the sea, just the sound. Your voice warps at the edges, curls in on itself, like even it is embarrassed to be part of your story. You hear the vowels crack, the consonants flinch. You used to think that name meant something. It was given to you, or forged, or stolen. It depends on the version. Some said it meant strength. Others said ruin. Your mother once said it meant reminder. You didn't ask what of. You thought it made you large. But now it's small, a pebble thrown at a tide that doesn't care. You speak it once more, softly. The rain doesn't pause. The waves don't flinch. Nothing opens. Nothing answers. But something inside you loosens, like a knot you didn't know was strangling you, like a collar that never quite fit. You say it again, not to be heard, not to be remembered, just to release it. Your name, yours. You taste it one final time, roll it in your mouth like a last fig, overripe and sweet with rot. You spit it out. It lands on the stone and rolls once before sliding off the edge. Gone. You exhale. Not relief, not surrender, just emptiness. Finally allowed to speak. You wonder if there will be anything left of you without the name. No statues, no scrolls, no lineage, no scars that the mountain will keep. The wind already forgets your shape. The sky already looks past you. The sea has made no promises except hunger. You close your eyes. You wait. Not for rescue, not for wrath, just for the silence to finish folding you in. And in that final moment, as the water claws over the edge, you feel something strange. Lightness. Not joy. Not peace. Just the absence of weight, of name, of needing to matter. And then, nothing. Just the sea. You sink slower than the others. Not because you're stronger, not because you resist, just because the water has to work harder to forget you. Your body, this heavy, ridiculous body, fights the flood like it doesn't know how to die. You feel every inch of it pull against the weight. You're not floating, not swimming, just suspended. A slow descent through judgment. Above you, the world disappears in layers. The trees are already gone, their roots sucked free like teeth pulled from soft gums. Then the rooftops, shingled, sun-bleached, barely remembered, gone. Then the towers. Then the songs. Then the bones. You see cities vanish like breath on glass. Whole neighborhoods swallowed in silence. No screams, just the gentle roll of water over thresholds that once kept families warm. You sink through it all. You pass windows you once looked through. Houses you weren't welcome in. Walls you broke because no one would open the door. The water washes them clean, as if none of it happened. as if you were never there. The sky closes. It doesn't slam, it exhales. A final long breath pulled in, held too long, and finally let go. The light dims. The clouds press their foreheads together and weep something thicker than rain. You try to look up, but the water's above your eyes now. Everything blurs. The sun is a smudge. The moon is gone. You hear thunder one last time. It doesn't sound angry anymore, just tired. Something drifts beside you. You turn your head. It's your brother. Not the first, not the fiercest, just the one who laughed the longest. The one who gnawed on deer bones in his sleep. The one who once snapped a palm tree in half because it dared shade a man he hated. He's not chewing now. His jaw is slack. His eyes are open. His fingers twitch once, then not again. You want to call his name, but your mouth is full of silence. Not water, just absence. As if even your voice has forgotten how to surface. He drifts past. You watch his body blur into the murk. You don't follow. You keep sinking. A bird swims by. Or maybe it's a memory of one. Its wings don't flap, just stretch, just glide, as if the sky still lives somewhere, far below. You wonder what it's looking for. You wonder what you're looking for. Time slows. Or maybe the world speeds up. You see things now. Faces in the dark. Shadows that aren't yours. Shapes that flicker and vanish before you can name them. You try not to blink, but your eyes are stinging. From salt. From truth. The mountain is gone. You can feel it, not see it, just know it. That ridge you clawed at. That boulder you begged from. All of it crumbled, folded, swallowed. There is no high ground left. Only memory. And you. You sink further. Hands reach for you. Some tiny, some wide. You don't know if they're trying to pull you down or lift you up. You don't know which you'd prefer. You close your eyes. You open them again. There's no difference now. Your chest doesn't hurt anymore. Your arms hang loose. Your legs stop kicking. You stop measuring the distance between yourself and the surface. You stop pretending you were ever close. And as the pressure grows, as the dark presses harder, as the world above seals itself shut, you begin to forget your weight. Not just the weight of your body, the weight of your name, the weight of your sins, the weight of the sky that made you. And slowly, quietly, you disappear. You become a story they're afraid to tell. Not a song, not a lesson, not a tale wrapped in comfort or the kind told with warm hands and full bellies. No, you become the kind whispered under breath when the moon won't rise. The kind left unfinished on purpose. You are the shadow behind the lullaby, the weight behind the warning. They carve your shape into old stones, crudely, with shaking hands, then bury them, deep, as if stone can be ashamed, as if forgetting is something that can be stacked in soil and sealed with moss. No one says your name anymore. It's not lost, it's hidden, locked behind the teeth of elders who only mutter when the wind is wrong. Children hear the silence around it before they hear the tale. That pause, that shiver, that glance toward the door before a fire is stoked twice. You are not called giant. You are not called Nephilim. You are not called at all. They call you that, the thing, the old blood. In some places they just spit and cross themselves. You don't know when it changed, when you stopped being real and started being reminder. But one day your footprints became sacred ground, roped off with fear and nettles. And the next, they vanished. They tell a version of you that's smaller, one that fits in a child's mouth, a beast, a mistake, a thing the flood came to erase. They forget your voice, your laughter, your climbing, your monument. They don't remember the fig tree, or the way your mother sharpened knives when she sang. What they remember is this: don't grow too fast. Don't eat too much. Don't speak to things that glow. They say it with kindness, but you can hear the edge. In their dreams, they see flashes. Teeth too wide, hands too long, eyes like torches that never blink. They wake, sweating. They touch their ceilings to make sure nothing is crouched above. They whisper prayers that end in names they forgot the meaning of. Yours among them. You are the flicker in the cave fire, the weight behind the storm, the reason some hills are never climbed. In some villages, children are taught to throw stones at shadows. In others, they leave offerings, just in case. A little honey, a bit of cloth, a word misspelled on purpose, to confuse your memory if it ever stirs. And sometimes it does. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, when the wind turns sour and the animals stop moving, someone thinks they see your silhouette, high, broken, swaying against the clouds. A shape too large, a face too ancient. They don't say anything. They light more torches. They shut the doors. They don't look again. Your name lives in the marrow of mountains now, in the corners of songs that no one finishes, in the hesitation before a mother answers, "What happened to the giants?" You happened, and so they pretend you didn't. But you are still here, aren't you? Somewhere beneath the riverbed, somewhere beneath the ruins, somewhere beneath the stories, waiting, not to rise, not to return, just to be remembered right. But they won't, because you became a story they're afraid to tell, and fear is louder than truth. You were real, but not remembered. The world moves on without the weight of you, without the tremble your footsteps used to bring, without the shadow that once stretched across hillsides and frightened the fruit off trees. The silence you left behind is thinner than it should be. No echoes, no monuments, just a hush where your name used to be. Your bones melt into mud, not all at once, slowly, gently, like the earth doesn't want to hurt you, just unmake you. It softens your ribs first, the ones you broke when you laughed too hard, then your knuckles, still calloused from the tower you carved in apology, then your teeth, which never stopped growing, even when you stopped eating. The skull takes the longest. It doesn't want to forget. It holds on, jaw clenched, brow furrowed, like it's still trying to finish the thought you never said aloud. But even that yields. The bone gives up its shape, fades into soil, fades into nothing. The flood is gone, left behind puddles in valleys that never dried right, left behind trees that grew sideways, left behind people who whisper about before, but never quite look you in the eye when they say it. They don't remember you. They remember storms, giants, sins with shoulders, but not you, not the crack in your voice, not the way you hummed when no one listened, not the joke you told at the edge of the world. Your name becomes wind. It slips through reeds at night. It scratches at doors that no one opens. It sighs into cave mouths and rattles through old teeth. No one hears it fully, not anymore. It breaks apart mid-syllable, mispronounced, misdirected, misunderstood. Sometimes, a child says something in their sleep, something too big for their tongue, something that leaves frost on their window and silence in the room. The parents shush it, rock them harder, whisper prayers louder, but the wind lingers. Not angry, just homesick, because somewhere, something still dreams of you. Not a person, not a god, not even the mountain you climbed and climbed and climbed, just something. A shadow behind the stars, a ripple in deep water, a breath held a little too long at the bottom of the sea. It remembers. It doesn't speak your name, not exactly, but it remembers the shape of you, the ache of you, the thud of your heart when you stood alone on the last dry rock and begged to matter. It dreams of your hands, how large, how clumsy, how desperate to build. It dreams of your eyes, how they stopped blinking the day the sky judged you. You don't rise. You don't return. But you stir. Once every 1,000 years, something shifts underfoot. A quake with no fault. A groan with no mouth. People say it's just the earth settling. But the wind knows better. It wraps around old stones. It brushes fingertips across ancient etchings buried too deep for daylight. It whispers lullabies no mother admits to knowing. And somewhere, just beyond memory, just beneath myth, just inside the last breath before sleep, you are still there. Real, but not remembered.